Welcome to This Week in Pulling, the show that brings you all the action from the world of tractor and truck pulling. I'm Dan Mayer, joined by Jeremy and Miles Krieger, and each week we'll dive into the latest highlights, breaking news, and behind-the-scenes stories from the sport we all love. From upcoming events, standout performances, and the rich history that shaped pulling into what it is today, we've got you covered. So buckle up, This Week in Pulling starts now. Well, welcome back This Week in Pulling, as we've got, we're getting down to it here. Episode number 24 here on our docket here today is, let's kind of mess around here and see where everybody's at. There we go. There we go.
Hey.
There we go. That's the one we were looking for. There we go. How you guys all doing?
Good. Happy to be back. Another week in pulling. We're kind of winding things down, but points races are kind of getting tight. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend in Wauseon. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we got Wauseon this weekend. We got Canton, and of course, last weekend was Wellington, Ohio. First time that I had the opportunity to go there, and what a great facility, great Ohio fair, as always there. And they had a great show there on Friday night. And Miles, you were out the Scheid Diesel Extravaganza right down the road from you.
Yeah, no, awesome to be close to home and get to take my boy with me for a little while. He participated in the pedal pull, thanks to Tony Kelly and Pullers and Racers for Christ for what they do and the service they provide, and for Dan Scheid and Debbie and everything they did. Great crowd, great safe event, lots of competition. A little over 100 hooks on Saturday night on our Saturday night's, session 4 final type deal, and some pretty awesome competition across the board. So I enjoyed it very, very much.
How did Locke do at the pedal pull?
He was second
Awesome.
in his division and got a trophy, and he was super excited about that. I'll have to send you guys a photo as he was. It was a big deal. He was super, super stoked, no question.
Excellent. That's awesome news.
Good deal.
Driving the old Massey Ferguson, and his trophy was. I just sent you guys both a text, so he was in hog heaven. There's no doubt.
Cross track it or straight down the side, or?
Well, he was really upset because he thought he was going to make a full pull and his foot fell off the pedal, and unfortunately Tony stopped him. So he got beat by a young lady who had him a little bit in size, but just kind of was a slow and steady wins the race type of pedaler, as opposed to Locke, who he dumped the clutch on the throttle in the starting line there and went after it like hell, and sort of towards the big end of the track didn't quite have what he needed. Big end, everybody.
Yes.
Little rough on equipment, huh? Right off the top there. Huh?
Yeah, he dumped the clutch and went after it. That's Daddy's coaching philosophy. I spotted the sled and told him, I said, "You got to get some speed going, boy." And like I said, his foot fell off the pedal there, and that kind of frustrated him. But he was excited to get to participate, and like I said, pretty neat deal. But I think before we get much deeper in our discussion, fellas, we need to highlight a couple of things. And the first thing is obviously for us to talk about Mr. Forrest Lucas and the the influence that he had, and certainly the impact of not just what he did for our sport that we adore so much, but for motorsports in general, and sort of just being a visionary and an entrepreneur that saw something that needed to happen, and then took his brand and found a way to elevate his brand by also coupling things that he loved. I mean, you think about how many brands out there are involved in ranching and involved in motorsports, and then also have baseball involvement and all of these different things. And on any given Saturday night, you could turn on a Major League Baseball game and see Lucas Oil on the outfield wall of the Angels Stadium, but then also watch Supercross or late models or drag boats or pull-in or whatever it be. And then on Sunday, you could watch his boy Morgan power down the track in the Lucas Oil car with a Hector Honor motorcycle. And I've reflected a lot on the impact that gentleman made on our lives. I think all three of us got to cut our teeth and carve paths with the Lucas Oil Pro Pulling League, and that sort of, I know, elevated and launched the status of where I've been able to go And without that opportunity, I probably am not where I am. So I know that, and I appreciate that. And obviously let you guys share your thoughts on him. But my experience and time when I got to be with him and got to be around Charlotte was nothing short of amazing. I remember playing golf at the Lucas Oil Golf Course in English that he bought in his home area and renovated, and was so surprised to walk into the clubhouse after playing 18 holes to eat some lunch with some peers and see Forrest sitting right there at a table eating as well, and then getting to catch up with him, and didn't really spend any time with my peers following that. Sat with him and visited with him for the remainder of the afternoon. But my bosses here had such a close-knit relationship with Forrest, and because they did, I got to learn more and more and more about him as a person, and not just as a business owner and somebody who was putting his money into the sport that I loved. So
Sure.
Just major kudos and major respect for what he did and where he was, and certainly the humble beings of who he was after he became the success story that he was. You wouldn't know that if you went to his facility and stood there in Wheatland and watched him making chicken sandwiches on the grill on a Saturday night when they needed extra help. I think that fully illustrated who he was.
Absolutely. And you kind of took the words out of my mouth, like humble beginnings, just hanging out and being able to speak words to him and visit with him. You didn't get the sense that he felt like he was, any more than a regular kid from Southern Indiana. He kind of got the sense that he, had major successes in his life and he was a hard worker. But at the end of the day, it all revolved around his home, and he wanted to be, give back and do the things that he did. And I agree. I don't think any of us would have what we have or be where we are if it hadn't been for him. And I look at all the racers out there who had the opportunity to do things because of Lucas Oil, and and not just not just pulling, but late models and drag boats. And he just had this wide swath of let's see if we can elevate this and make it better. And then who buys their own television network so that they can air their own programs. I mean, that the guy he just had an unbelievable knack to market the things that he was already doing, and I feel like it was great. And my heart goes out to Forrest and to Morgan and Charlotte and the whole team there, and then all the employees at Lucas Oil all across the United States, and to everybody who loved the man. He will be sorely missed, and I feel like he gets a little underestimated, especially since the Lucas has now kind of sunsetted their sponsorships in several motorsports. But I feel like you cannot count out the things that he did to make all types of motorsports full circle and be give them the attention he thought they deserved, and to elevate them all to a different levels. Really, heart goes out to the family, and he will be sorely missed.
Yeah, absolutely. Thoughts and prayers to the family, and what a great American story. I mean, here's a guy that started with, and you'd expect to see something like this on the History Channel or like a biography kind of deal coming, because you want to hear his story. You want to, his story is just so, just a great American story, and you just hope that other people know about it. And like you said, you mentioned all the things that he helped out. I mean, everything, like you said, from monster trucks, swamp buggies, drag racing, the Lucas Oil series, the Sportsman series. I mean,
right.
Over the years, they've kind of been the redheaded stepchild, and he kind of brought them, elevated them up, with sponsorship there, and helped them out, and just like you say, from pulling to everything. It's just thank you for everything that you did, and had the opportunity to meet him there at Lucas Oil Speedway a couple times, and just what a great guy, and just reminiscing about when he drove the hot rod semi back years ago, and just different stories like that. And he was happier than a kid in a candy store, talking about, oh yeah, that time I pulled that truck, and, it was awesome, and it was just, some great stories like that. So, like I say, just, thoughts and prayers to the family, and hopefully, I hope his story is told, somewhere down the road, and somebody does a nice documentary on, because really, when you look at all American folks, this is a guy right here that deserves, he worked for everything he got, and, he's like Miles said, he's everywhere. I mean, you can't go anywhere without reading Lucas Oil, and that's just a tribute to, the hard work they did for all them years, and, hats off to them.
For sure. Absolutely.
I don't know where you guys sit in this whole thing, but I can tell you that from my perspective, and understand it's not valued at any high dollar amount, but I personally believe the creation of Team Lucas might be one of the single-handed most influential, impactful things across all motorsports as well.
I think it's fair. Absolutely. I would agree with that.
I mean,
This consortium of companies
Yes.
that probably can't do it on their own accord, but can do it with the support of others. So what do? You take like-minded companies that have similar strengths and similar weaknesses, and you pool them all together into this synergistic group of driven companies that are trying to reach grassroots fans. And for us, like I think about where the sport went and how it changed, and you think about Bill Leichner with a flat bill Rockstar Energy hat on, and you close your eyes and you think, is that something that's ever going to occur? And then it does. And you don't ever think that's possibly something that's going to happen. But, I can't drive down the road today and not see a Speedco and read the Speedco ad in my head for all the years that we did. Or I can't walk through a store and not see one of the products that we might have been able to have, or see an Optima battery and not talk about, what it does. And so I think across the game, from marketing and trying to elevate our sport, and there's a lot of momentum now through social media and through Full Pull and through a lot of things that are happening to help get our sport forward in the forefront of people. But I think from 15 years ago, Team Lucas might have been the most impactful part of it.
Agreed. I think there's some absolute truth to that. And I feel like their formula and their algorithm, if you will, worked. Like, they had everything you need. Like, they had exposure, they had live event exposure, they had television exposure. And if you joined Team Lucas, you were going to see return on your investment immediately. And I feel like all of the people who, it will, I will miss somebody, but I know, people like Geico and, all the sponsorships that you guys already mentioned, like they had to have seen absolute growth and absolute, return on investment in their investment with Team Lucas. And that was a popular time, for the organization back then.
And really you look at a lot of the non-pulling related sponsorships. I mean, Tonka Toys and like you mentioned Geico and, and all the, Rockstar Energy Drink and all the sponsors that, went on to sponsor other, pulling General Tire, different pulling vehicles over the years. And just, that was just impressive how that, that all worked. And, some sponsorships kind of went, a sponsor would come in and they'd kind of want to steer towards the late models. Okay. That was okay. But then you had others that were kind of all together in one. And it just, what an awesome plan that they had. And you, like you say, Miles, you look back on that and you just kind of have to think and say, wow, that was just something that they, something that they had going. And just, I remember, you guys remember as well how many, sponsor reads, at one time, all the different sponsor reads.
Yeah, you could have just not announced a pull and just sat there and read sponsor copy all night and still not gotten it all done.
Yeah, and big names. We're talking, like you say, Fortune 500 companies, and just great that they had that all under one umbrella, and they just kept that machine just kept going, and it was great to be a part of it. Super Clean, we got to mention, Super Clean was another one that was for a lot of years, and so yeah, it was just a great plan that they had, and like you say, it's kind of elevated the sport to to upper levels here that we hadn't seen in quite a while, and and thank them for everything that they've done.
Everything you think about, and there weren't really outliers. There weren't any that didn't fit into that sort of ball that was going the direction it was. And if it was, I remember the introduction of RAM mounts and the introduction of Super Clean, and the introduction, obviously, one of the early adopters of Team Lucas was Canon filters. And, you start going down the list. And so it was definitely driven towards these places. Then later in, we had Big River Steel come on board, and some of these other companies that sort of fit into the mold of it all. But across the spectrum to have, I think it was one of those scenarios where once you had one, then you had two, then you had four, then you had six, then you had eight before you knew it. We had E3 and all of these companies that, again, like I said, they all fit. So you could insure your boat, your RV, you could insure everything you needed. Then you could do all the maintenance that you needed. Then you could polish it. Then after you polished it, well, guess what? You can roll right on down the road and have it washed after you've left the campground or wherever you've been. And, if you need to be able to put your Garmin on the dash, well, we've got a mount for that too. And I mean, it just,
wasn't there a camera company? Like, I can't remember the name of the company.
Ion cameras.
Ion, yeah.
Ion cameras. That was on barges for a while.
For a while, and
Springfield Armory was on barges there, and Rhino Ag. I mean, just Miles said, just goes on and on.
Napa Carlisle Tools was doing some stuff. You think about that, their kind of involvement. So it's like, hey, you need some tools to get started and you want to work on this. Well, okay. Then after you do this, well, you're thirsty. You have a Rockstar energy drink because, well, guess what? We need to bring that sort of thing in here. We got tired truck drivers. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do it this way. And so I know Jamie Devaney at that time was one of the big marketing guys that was under Forrest's direction, and just kudos. I could spend hours. We're already 18 minutes in, and about 16 minutes of this is devoted to Lucas already, and certainly don't want to discredit that. And maybe as we get later, we could do a memorial or memoriam about him as well. But I just feel like for me, there's just been so much, and talking to him and having him tell me the story about putting the tractor in Lucas Oil Stadium and having that conversation with Steve. And I didn't hear Steve's version. I heard Forrest's version. And, hey, I called and asked him if we could put the tractor in. And he said, yeah, no problem. And he said, I told him to take the motor out and I told him to do this. And Steve's response was, no, we're going to put that thing in there just as it sits. And, from the perspective of what they've got and what he did, and, I can't not go up there for Monster Jam with my kids every year, or for an event when I get to be up there and not just wander the concourse and look and stare up at the ceiling. And I just can't. So I just appreciate it. I appreciate him so much. And I just feel like if you were to ask me to list 3 or 4 or 5 all-time impactful sort of bodies in my vision of where I've been over the course of the last 2 decades, Forrest Lucas and his vision and dream they've got to be in there.
Absolutely.
So thanks for talking, guys. Obviously, I don't want to discredit anything, like I said.
No. We'll give the man his flowers. I mean, absolutely. Right. I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think you guys both touched on it. But I mean, if you look at the Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series and you look at the sportsman ranks of drag racing, I mean, there are still these lowly, weekly sportsman guys who have Lucas Oil on their car, and you're like, how did this happen? Well, we know how it happened. Forrest Lucas showed up and saw a hardworking guy in the pits who needed a little boost, and he gave him one. And I think he did that for all of us. Some of us more direct than others, but if there is no Forrest Lucas, none of us are where we are today. Period.
Yeah, and he created a Premier League. I mean, he gave Christy and Jonathan what they needed to be able to take what was, they started that thing. Don't get me wrong. With the ATPA's folding, they didn't take the ATPA business. They started a brand new company.
Right.
And within 2 years, they were one of the cat's meows in that game, and it was real. And it changed, and the professionalism of it changed, and the approach to how things were done changed, and signage changed, and television changed, and it just changed.
Yeah.
And from there, over the course of the next 10 years, it continued to grow and elevate. And Jeremy and Dan, now's that time frame. I mean, I literally over my lunch was looking at the first round of qualifying at the big goes for the sportsman stuff and looking directly at it, and you can't navigate in there without it. And then you realize for those guys, it's got to be similar to, for us, we're the announcers of it, but from competitors who got to participate in this league and have been helped, oh my goodness, a pretty handsome points fund or a pretty handsome opportunity to win an event here. Or we all have to remember the Lucas Oil event winner hats that everybody has been able to don and what that means. So just a lot of respect and a lot of appreciation and certainly a lot of just significant sorrow for the family as they grieve the loss of a man who just worked hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. We'll be missed for sure. And you go back to, the humble beginnings of the PPL circuit and, everybody, all the naysayers, well, how they're going to make it another year, before you know it, they're celebrating their 10th anniversary and stronger than ever. And it just, like you say, what a great model and what a great job they did, over these years and keeping everything going. And, Forrest was 100% behind all that. And
never took a bit of credit for any of it. Just
exactly.
Let's do this. Let's make it happen. We got great partners to make it happen. Here it is. Go do it. And he was just the catalyst. I mean, and I think if, it's just amazing to me how one guy did all of that.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just unbelievable. It's got to start somewhere, and it started with him, and he'll absolutely be missed.
For sure. But yeah, great man.
Well, so, obviously, I'll give you a couple other things from Scheid I want to talk to you about real quick, and then we can roll back in. But kudos to Terry Biggs. He won a points championship. Equally as impressive was Shane Maston. He won another points championship, or his first Champions Tour title as well. So I got to be there to be on the call for 2 Champions Tour completions, and that was a pretty impressive deal. Obviously, Maston never finished outside of the top 5, nor did Terry ever finish outside of the top 4, and that's a real awesome formula to win. And Terry went out on top with an incredible performance on Saturday night with his Ford Deadpool. So certainly, we had some awesome competition. Cody Lee won on Friday night with the One Nation. We had around 60 hooks in the afternoon session each day, around 20 per track for the 3.0 class, and then around 10 per track, 12 per track, something like that for the Pro Street class. And I had a lot of people ask, well, why are the numbers so much smaller? And I think the reason I would tell you this is numbers are a little bit smaller in those classes because those guys have enjoyed that class for a little while and they've learned a lot, and then they've decided to move up.
Right.
You got a guy like Cody Lee who now has 2 Superstock diesel trucks. Well, he doesn't run his lower level classes as much because he's got 2 Superstock diesels. Now the farm truck was there, but outside of that, there's a lot of folks who've sort of transitioned out of what I would categorically call like a lower level class, a regional level class, up to the Champions Tour level, or even to a Western or Silver Series class level. So we had a really, really good event, and I think there were great crowds for the evening sessions, and very smooth. Turned the microphone on around 6:30 start time both nights, and I was home and in my house before 11 o'clock both nights. So for me, let's get up and go. I enjoy that. And both, on Friday evening, I got to enjoy as Dan announced 2 more classes of competition and rolled on into the wee hours of the morning. So I enjoyed the stream and got to listen to watch Marcus make an awesome pass and win, and Billy Beers, holy moly. And that Pro Stock class was a pretty awesome deal, watching the Simons do what they were doing. So,
yeah, between you and Jeff Hurt on that call when Beers, wow,
man, oh man, I heard.
I didn't even realize I did. I didn't even realize he did the man oh man until Miles called me out on it, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, well, there we go. Hey, give a hats off to Butch.
It was.
Yeah, awesome. I heard it. I was like, oh yeah.
He somehow, some way finagled that out of you.
Yeah, that once again, kudos to Shane Maston there with his first championship there with the PPL, and
yep.
and same goes to the super stock class there is, we saw, Terry Biggs pick up that championship, and, always great to see guys win their first ever championships, and the way they did it this year in a dominating fashion, just very impressive. So hats off to those guys.
Guys, how cool was it to see Josh Land's crippler with bar tires on it? I mean, can we talk about that for a second? Dude, I saw those pictures. I was like, oh, yeah, I am digging this. I love it. And there's another example of somebody, popping up to the next level.
He did really well on Saturday night as well. Like he, obviously I think he probably learned a little bit, from where he was on his setup the first night, but the second night he got second. And he was sort of the middle of the class. I think we had maybe 17 or 18 in that class, and he pulled hook like number 8 or 9. And when he did, he was one of the guys that went further. The guy that won was the option. And he, nobody really got there. But he was one of the very next ones. And then the cool thing about it is his first hook was first, 8th hook was second, and I think the very last hook was third. And so, you look at the 17 in the class, and for us to be able to have first, second, and third be first, middle, last, it was a pretty good class and very, very good competition. The hot farm class was unreal. We had 22. The magnified tractor, which has kind of been the gold standard there in the hot farm division, was again. And the Harrises have just kind of been on a pass and really doing a good job. And they made it abundantly clear that they were kind of on the path. And then, the 4-1 class came in with a points tie between Adrian and John Meyer. And those two guys obviously were tied at 453 points. So it was kind of interesting to see how it would pan out heading into Nashville. And John Meyer Jr. sort of won that battle. So he's got a 4-point advantage, I believe, heading into the final hook here, not this coming weekend, but the following. So wrapping up points races, Dano's getting ready to go to Ohio. I'm going to go to a sheep show in Indiana. And I got to tell you guys, I'm pretty excited. I got a text message this afternoon, and Allie and I sold one ram this winter to a young lady in Iowa, and she went to the Minnesota State Fair Open Show, and she was supreme champion ram in the division of the breed that we raised. So it was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah.
That's pretty neat. We don't do that type of stuff very often. So that was pretty cool.
Guys, let's talk about the super stock diesel truck class. I mean, it has turned into, 4 or 5 years ago, you could basically tell you who were the favorites in this class, right?
Yep.
Nowadays, I don't think, throw your hands up and pick a name out of the hat. I mean, it has just been crazy, this past year, what a class. I mean, it is turning into, like a super farm class where you've had multiple different winners. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the sky's the limit for this class. I mean, we saw 35, 36 at Bowling Green. And and they're just guys keep building them, and gals keep building them, and within a couple of years here, we're going to be looking 40, 50 trucks, I'd have to say, and the popularity of them just keeps on going.
Yeah. I mean, we had 18 with us at Scheid, and you very easily could have had 25 or 30. You think about what's coming down the pipeline, and more coming from Cody Lee and potentially from Hazley and several of these other folks. And we'll have 40, 45 before you know it. And you think about Cody Lee won on Friday night. Terry Biggs won on Saturday night. Xander was second on Saturday night. Cody was fifth. And in the midst of all of that was the Ingrams, Brady and Trenton. They were top 3 both days, and that's a truck that's been around for a long time, but not always been up in the super stock ranks, and has just kind of been able to jump, and miraculously those guys seem to pull off just wherever they go. They're in the hunt, and they proved that again.
Sure.
Yeah, great class there, and look for things to come there with that class. Now, go and do the Wellington event. We started off Friday night with the Classic Superstock class was the first class of the night. Now, Jeremy, I know you've got a special soft spot in your heart there for the Classic Supers. As we saw, I think there was about 20 of them they had show up there in Wellington, and a Northeast Ohio class, and they were all there in their glory. We had the Alice Chalmers out there, the John Deeres, Internationals in force, and see them this weekend here in Canton. But a great Region 2 class there to start the night off, and then we went right into the mini class. And guys, what a shakeup in the mini class here! Adam Kester has led the way the whole season with the Footloose tractor, and then Jeff Hurt, Mr. Excitement, goes out here last Friday night, and he laid down a big one.
Absolutely. So what, he comes in this weekend? What, 3 up?
3 up. Yeah, we got the top 4 basically right there in the mix.
Yeah.
You could basically, Adam Bauer with a great run here could, I think we've got about 30 entries this weekend for minis and Wasion. We'll bring that up here in a little bit. But another stellar field of minis going to be out here. And, of course, Lindsey Campbell right there in the mix as well. So, any one of them 4. And then, you've got, Ken Vini. He qualified number 5 there to get into the Enderley. He's got to hold on to that number 5 spot there. That's pretty close behind him. But I'd say those top 4 are basically after this weekend here. That's going to be the battle for that championship at the Enderley. And hopefully things work out to where everybody has a good run here this weekend and kind of pretty close. What do you guys think?
Let's hope so. Yeah, I hope that's the case. I'd love to see it come down to the wire and, kind of like you and I saw at Canton last year where, coming in on the night of the 2-wheel drives, there, were 6 or 8 or 9 who could potentially win it depending on how the evening went. But, I think it's a 4-horse race at this point. But Jeff Hurt is, he's peaking as Miles.
He's on fire, yeah.
Miles has always talked about, runners and cross-country runners peaking at the right time, and being fit when they need to be. Jeff Hurt is definitely peaking at the right time for sure. But the season isn't over yet, and, anything can happen. But
I'm going to cut you off, put a check on the board, and I'm going to ask this question while we're at it.
Sure.
I think you need to have a complete reset at the end.
Really? Okay.
So just everybody start at 0 and winner take all.
Well, let me ask you. I mean, I respect him. I appreciate him. But Joe Hader already knows he's won the championship. By mathematical purposes, he can't be caught.
Chase.
So he's going to go. And don't get me wrong, there's prestige. It's the 30, it's like the Enderley, and you've been doing it for 30, 40 years, and it's a big deal. But wouldn't it be cooler if all 5 had a shot to win and you rolled in there and everybody had their wicks turned as far as they could, and you got a one and done for the championship? I mean, NHRA's kind of been doing it. NASCAR's been doing it. I mean, NASCAR, you got 4 guys that go into that final race every year in Tampa or wherever it is, in Miami or wherever we're going in Florida, right? Usually, you have to get through the first level of 12 and then to the next level and to the next level. And once you're there, well, poof. Well, I'm not saying it's not that way, but I'm just telling you, if Hurt has another night like he did, and he gets a 5-point advantage over Kester, well, sadly enough, Kester's math doesn't lead for him anymore. It sort of takes his incentive to want to go up there to be there and win. So for me, I'm not opposed to the idea of making the Enderley the end-all be-all, but let's really add to it. Let's make it the end-all be-all.
I like that idea. I do. I like that idea. Yeah. Somebody had brought that up, had questioned that. I don't know where somebody had asked that question, and, it had been talked about that it was going to be, you were going to go in with the same points you had, and that was how it was going to be. But yeah, like you say, Miles, I think that gives it just a little bit more incentive there going into the final event. Winner take all.
I also look at it and say, like a guy, let's just play the mini game. You give a guy like Ken Vini 1 shot, he might win it.
Might do it.
But if he goes in 30 points behind and he's in 5th, well, he's 5th. He ain't going to get there because he can't gain more than 4 points.
Right.
Or if we're going to do something about it, then you got to change how you're going to do the points. Let's say, okay, a first is worth 20 and a second's worth 12 and a third's worth 10 or 8 or whatever it is, but let's weight it so that there's still some story there.
Right.
That's what I want to do.
Okay, so yeah, that's an interesting idea. Go into the Enderley with the different points.
Yeah, reweight them or something so that something can be changed. That way, the guy that's 5th has a little incentive to get first. And if you look at the end of the day, like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to penalize Adam Kester. He's been the guy this early in the season. Jeff Hurt from the middle of the season on. You think about his story and the motor swaps and everything we experienced at Farley and again at Chapel Hill and all those places where he struggled. My goodness, the first 6 weeks of the season would have been enough for everybody to want to stop, and he didn't. He kept pressing the throttle, and he's there, and that's a perfect story for who he is. Like it makes that sense. I appreciate it, but the next step is like, okay, how else can we spin this thing?
Yeah, I like the different points idea. Actually, I like that one a little bit better than the reset, I'd have to say.
Well, you'd have to really sit down and give it some thought,
right?
But if you've got a guy who rolls in there and and it's feasibly possible. I mean, right now, let's think about your races that are already over.
Right.
Two-wheel drive's over. Unlimited's over. Pro stock, we know it's going to be one of two tractors out of Iowa, right?
Right. We know, let's see. And then everybody else is kind of basically, we're going to find out here with the light mods this weekend, light supers. They're going to more or less, we'll see how they come out of the weekend here. They're pretty close. We got half a point.
Super stock diesel, it's either Colin or Kent, right? There's a 1 point difference. Super Roosters got Colin by one.
I'm trying to think. Super stock open class, I think that's pretty well in the.
That should be Terry after Colin didn't hook.
Yeah, 5 points separate.
Which means,
like you say, if you go back to a different point system, that super stock open class at the Enderley.
But if Colin can gain 10,
right,
or even 6, or whatever it is, then he has a mathematical chance. And I realize that you have to look at it, and it could be always, every time it's going to be something different. Well, it's 5 this time, and next time it's 10, and next time it's 20, and you can't always try to make the math work to give everybody a chance. But I just feel like from the outside looking, I think it would be pretty neat for you to be able to look at these races and say, okay, guys, it's no different. You watch the NASCAR race, and there's strategy that comes to it. Right. Do you want to be up front and at the beginning stage of that race, knowing full well that some guy could cut a tire and take you out of your shot? Or are you back there in the back kind of nursing your car through for the first 200 laps with the thought, okay, I need to, be there late. I don't know. On the light super stock side of things, I know it's pretty interesting when you look and you see that Marcus is a half a point back. And then after that, Bowles is 6 points back and Rex is 7. So technically, you could go into that scenario. The considered armed and dangerous is 10 back. Mm-hmm. Well, if you change that somehow and you weight it, you do have a 5 tractor race where all 5 can change. But right now you only got 2 tractors that can win the points title. Right. And outside of that, that's it. And, for considered can't get, considered can only gain 4 points technically. So if it gained 4, it could tie for third.
Right.
I just think there's a way that, and obviously I love the idea of being able to give more story for the announcer, more story for the fan. Sure. And load that thing up.
Just give it that pizzazz for the final event of the season.
It's sure making me want to be there more. I know that.
And like you said, even like a 25-point swing, 25 for first, 20, 15, down the line there, kind of, make it so that you can swing a 20, if you are 20 points behind, you can.
If you want it and the person that was first got 5th, you could gain 20.
Yeah.
And that might change the scale.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. I like that thinking. I think, I would give it that little pizzazz for the final event, and, that draw where you pull your position out the night before. I think that would make it a little bit more exciting when you got that. But we'll see how it. Hopefully, the powers that be, they look at this for coming years, and made a move here this year with it. That was the big thing, was making that move to make the Enderley a point event.
I realize why they do it.
Right.
And like too many times, and I don't mean this in derogatory fashion, but too many times, by the time you get to September 15th, 17th, 18th, somewhere in that time frame, you got guys that are in the field, you got guys that have broke equipment, you got guys that all have these issues. And so the incentive to go to the all-star event is not always there because they got to get in the field. or they tore their stuff up the weekend before and they don't want to wrench all week, or they can't get the parts. Well, if it settles the Grand National points race, they're going to be there. They're going to find a way.
Oh, for sure.
Their field's going to wait a day, and their parts are going to come.
And you take a team like Simon's. I mean, literally, they've been out to, from Iowa to Ohio 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I mean, starting the middle of August. They've been out, for 5 or 6 weeks in a row. Out there in Ohio, and it's like, okay, how many more trips you got to make out there? So like you say, that incentive to go out there and make that event. Give them a little bit something extra, but I like the points idea myself. I think that's something to get looked at here in the future. But got some great weekend coming up here, Canton, Ohio. We've got we talk about Wauseon. We got the 4-wheel drive class. They've got the Holman brothers are on the verge of their 13th championship, which would put them in a totally different atmosphere than any other pullers. And, the courses are right there, and that's going to be great to see how that all shakes out there, and, who's going to, get down into the Enderley. And, that 4-wheel drive class, Wauseon always seems to be the, it is the hometown event there for the Holman. So, I haven't looked back and seen how they do there, but it's usually pretty well, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, the fan in me wants to watch and see if Rob can get up there a little bit higher, and see if Jake can get up a little bit higher, so that when they all go at the Enderley, there's a 5-truck race. Because they're all still right there pretty close. I mean, Taylor and Tommy, I think, are a couple of points apart, and then maybe 4.5 or something like that for Holman's. And then I think Rob and Jake are outside of the math to make it work at Enderley right now.
Right. So they would they'd need some good runs in Wauseon to do that. So 8 and I think 13 is what they 8 for Rob, and 13 I think for Jake is what it turned in. But yeah, no, that's going to be interesting. And then over in the Canton, you've got Wayne Sullivan, leading the way in the light modified class, and the Simon team is right there. I think 9 points behind. They're ready to make up some ground this weekend, and a great light modified class, a great run for the championship. You talked about the light super stocks, and then the pro stocks this weekend are pretty much, like you say, a 2-tractor race there with, the Loud and Heavy X tractors 1 and 2 right now. But guys, this weekend, get to work with Dave Grimm.
Do you really?
Yes, Dave's going to be on our live stream this weekend, Friday and Saturday night with me, and I couldn't be happier. This worked out very good, and he's going to make his way out to Canton this weekend. So make sure you
can't wait to watch.
We'll pull live and listen to Dave. And we talked on the phone the other day, and he kind of warned me. He says, Dan, I don't really know the pullers, like I used to. And I'm said, Dave, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. And I'll say, there's quite a few that you still would recognize out there. And I'm sure I might. So he was kind of humble, but I think he's excited to come out there and do it. So that'll be a lot of fun. So make sure you listen to that. That'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly, like I said, I'm going sheep showing, but I'll be sitting there Friday night and Saturday night watching and tuning in. And guys, I think it's the seasons of life, cross country and travel softball, and all the things are coming about for the Krieger family right now. So plenty busy.
I hear that. Well, you gentlemen will be sheeping and pulling, and I will be Litchfield, Kentucky for KTPA Saturday night. And then I'm going to Bernie, Indiana, Greensburg, Indiana on Sunday night for a non-sanctioned open fire department pull up there. So I'll have a few things to discuss as well, I'm sure.
Sounds awesome.
Bernie, Indiana. Yes. Remember seeing the sign up there for the big tractor pull.
But I would be remiss if I didn't, because I have every week and I'm going to continue to. I'm just going to say Taylor Corsa is leading the points in the 4-wheel drives. Just going to say it.
Yeah, she is. You're right. And it's going to be a good deal. She's right there consistently where she needs to be. Her dad's with her, and it's going to be good.
Absolutely.
There's, I will say they posted the lineups. Dano for Wauseon and for Canton. So if you feel like you want to dig in, but I think when I looked, there were like 30 4-wheel drive trucks that were
30 and 30. Yeah, there was 30
and 30 minis.
Yep, 30-30. Here we
In
go.
Wasion. So fullpull.us, you can see all the lineups over there, and head on over, check that out, and see where your favorite puller is starting from. And if for those that are just wondering about Jeff Hurt, he's 16th and 30th in the field, the 16th with the Little Bear. So he's about halfway.
You look down that list, and let's be honest, I just pulled it up because I wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy. 14th, Adam Kester Footloose. 15th, Lindsey Campbell, short fused.
Right behind
16th, Jeff Hurt, Little Bear. They're back to back to back, and their number draws were 451, 475, and 538, and that's where they appear in order as they come back through that 1,000 numbers.
That's
so.
great.
You know,
there's a couple back was Adam Bauer.
And
where is Bauer? Is he behind?
Adam's 20. He's
Okay.
20.
Don't rule out Adam Bauer. I think
he's in the catbird
grass right there. He's ready to pounce.
Yeah, he'll get to watch all three of them and then make a plan. So
he is 20. So yeah, it's they're all right there. Like none of them are in the very front, none of them are at the very end. They're all right there in a 5-tractor nucleus.
Is Convini with them too? Where is he?
He is later, I think. Let me look and see here. He's actually 18th.
18th. Okay, so yeah.
So
they're right there together.
14, 15, 16, 18, 20.
So basically, you just have to tune in halfway through the class. You'll everything you need to know will be right there within 6-7 tractors, and you'll be able
to read who had a good night and who had a bad night by about hook number 21.
Yep, we'll know.
Yeah, great event there, Wasion, Ohio. They've got some regional classes as well that they put on. And I think it's double track action there too, isn't it, in Wasion at the Fulton County Fairgrounds?
Not real sure.
Yeah, and they I think they've got 4 or 5 regional classes to go along with the Grand National classes there. And they say we'll be up in Canton. We have the light modifieds. We'll have the pro stocks as well as the light super stock battles going on and classic super stocks. And I think we've got the light limited supers as well. I think I'm not 100%. I think they were there last year, weren't they, Jeremy? We had the light limited supers.
We did.
As well.
Yes, sir.
So, and then of course Sunday, like to make it out to Indy on the way back from Canton and see a little bit of qualifying at the big go. And hopefully the weather is going to be halfway decent for that. And spend a little an afternoon and kind of enjoy the biggest drag race in the world.
I'm glad I'm not with you this year, man. You're a road dog. Miles, we got to bed from Canton at like 2:30 in the morning, and he's like, "Yeah, we're leaving at 6 for Indy." I'm like, "What?"
I think I think qualifying for Top Fuel started or Pro-Mod started at 11. So
I think we were there by 9.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm too old for this, Dan.
Part of it. You got to go while you can, guys. Got to go while you can. But
absolutely. Well, one thing I wanted to impart, as I know we're kind of up against it, and Miles, you got to go, but I wanted to at least let you guys know our Bowling Green episode was very, very successful. Yes. I got all kinds of messages, and even John Van Horn reached out to me thanking me for making him my best appearing, and I thought that was pretty neat. So people are watching, guys. They are for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We had a great turnout for the Bowling Green event, and like you say, anybody's anything, come reach out to us. Anything that you'd like us to talk about or whatever, we're here to please. That's for sure. We're here to please. So make sure you do tune in Full Pull Live this weekend. All kinds of pulling action starting Friday and all the way through Labor Day. We've got a OSTPA event. I'll be in. Monday, I'll be in OSTPA event we've got there as we'll be doing that one Monday after Indy. So we're going to go to Indy and then head back out to Ohio for Ohio State Pull. And that'll be, I'm trying to think where we have that one on. Let me look here. That was New London, Ohio on Randy Fishbaum's pull down there, and we're going to be doing that one on Full Pull Live as well. So Labor Day weekend, going to be a lot of everybody stay safe, a lot of pulling action going on. You can check it all out, Full Pull Live, and then if you can't be at a live event, enjoy the Make sure you watch the grills. No, we don't need no grill accidents over the weekend. Everybody stay safe with that.
Appreciate it, pal.
All right. Well, that'll conclude episode number 24 here as we'll head into Labor Day. And next Wednesday, we'll discuss what went down here as we'll head into the Enderley for those classes. And then we'll have, Sandwich. We'll have the preview for Sandwich. We'll have the Superstock diesel trucks. They'll be running their final points event. And then we'll have modified Super Farms, Pro Stocks, and the Diesel Supers there at Sandwich to finish out the NTPA Grand National season. And that same weekend will be Nashville, Illinois. Got their final PPL event for two-wheel drives, and minis are on the docket, I think. And there was 3 or 4 classes I thought on there as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a bit, it's been busy all summer, but it's just going to, keep the foot on the pedal here next couple of weeks. And we got some good events coming up, and we'll see you all next week then.